Yo, what is good, Jets Nation? Welcome back to Jets Media. This is Richie, and in this video, I want to talk about Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas' vision of building this New York Jets team through the trenches on both the offensive side of the ball and, of course, the defensive side of the ball. We know that our general manager and our head coach are luckily in sync. They both have the same exact philosophy of how you build a successful New York Jets football team, and that's through the trenches. So in this video, I want to break down the offensive line and the defensive line, what the depth chart's looking like, who are some good players, who are some keepers, who are players that we should move on from, and of course look at some targets that the New York Jets are bringing in the trenches, both free agency and the draft. So I'm really excited to break down this video because if you guys have been following my channel for a while, I've always talked about the trenches. I've always prioritized it for the New York Jets, and it's really awesome to have a GM and Joe Douglas go out there and hire a guy in Robert Saleh last year, and they both align in the same vision. If you guys listen to any of the interviews with Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas with the media, they always bring it up. They always talk about we want to be a football team that wins the games on the line of scrimmage, and we're hopeful that the New York Jets can get there eventually, and I feel like this is a pivotal offseason in order to add talent to both the offensive defensive lines, and I'm excited to break it down again in this video. So if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you smash that subscribe button. I greatly appreciate all the support here at Jets Media, and of course, make sure you like the video if you guys enjoyed. If you want to check me out over on Instagram and Twitter, that is at NYJets_media. With that being said, let's dive right into the video. So first, we're going to talk about the offensive line and break down the depth chart, who's still there, who are some players that we should move on from, and who are some targets, and who do we have on the team that's pending free agents. Should we re-sign them or not? So here's the depth chart I have for the New York Jets. We have Becton and Fant competing for that left tackle spot, so we do not know who's going to win that job. And of course, we have Elijah Vera Tucker at left guard. We have Connor McGovern at center, and currently we have Greg Van Roten at right guard. I think he will not be on the Jets next year, at least I hope. And then right tackle is obviously either one of Becton and Fant. So going right into it, man, the free agents that we have is Morgan Moses and LDT. These are two players that are going to be really interesting to see if Joe Douglas moves on from them or they re-sign. If we do move on from Morgan Moses, then we need to go out there in free agency or the draft and get a tackle that is a swing tackle, that could be a depth piece, that's someone that can be plugged in if one of Becton or Fant goes down with an injury, because that's what happened last year. If you guys remember, Morgan Moses was signed like in the summer, and we're really lucky we did that because Becton obviously missed the entire season, and without a swing tackle in Morgan Moses, then there would be nobody, filling in for Becton in a beautiful way. George Fant slid in there at left tackle. Morgan Moses goes in at right tackle. And, of course, those two tackles had a really good season for the New York Jets last year. So I would love the Jets to bring in Morgan Moses in free agency. I just don't see it happening financially speaking. I don't know what the type of money he's looking for. I mean, Morgan Moses has a great resume of being an Iron Man, just not playing. Like, he's always healthy. Whenever he does get nicked up, he's a tough guy that goes out there and stays on the field. I would love the Jets to bring him back. Morgan Moses is another really good presence in the locker room. He had a really good things to say about the Jets. He feels like we're going in the right direction. He's just a naturally born leader. I would absolutely love the Jets to bring him back, but I just don't know if that will happen or not. And then we got LDT. He's a pending free agent as well. I really hope the Jets re-sign him for depth purposes and compete for that right guard spot. As we know, the right guard position is probably the biggest hole on this Jets offensive line. I think that the Jets are going to cut Greg Van Roten and free up some $3.5 million of cap space. I think that's what a lot of Jets fans are expecting. We don't know if that's going to happen 100% yet, but say we do cut GVR, then we have to make sure we re-sign LDT because the Jets went out there and traded for him, and we basically gave up nothing, and he was our starting right guard for the rest of the season, and he did a really good job on this Jets offensive line. And I feel like LDT, if he wants to play football, I really hope the Jets bring him in and compete for that right guard spot. So that's really where the Jets are at right now. Now, who are some targets that the Jets can go out there and make sure they add to the roster, add to this offensive line so we can go into the season protecting Zach Wilson and opening up holes for Michael Carter? Some free agent targets I want to talk about. That's the number one guy is Laken Tomlinson that I'm the highest on in the free agent market. He comes from the San Francisco 49ers. He's very familiar with the Jets coaching staff. Benton was his offensive line coach. Saleh was obviously there. LaFleur was obviously there. So it's very familiar faces on the New York Jets. So maybe Tomlinson, I know he's a little older than some other guys in the market. He's 30 years old, so he's not someone that we're going to, commit a 5-year contract to. He's not really, a young guy that can develop in the system. He's kind of like a win now mode, or just in terms of a plug and play. We're going to give you them that money, we're going to bring you in. But the most impressive thing about Tomlinson is his durability, and he's missed, what, one game in the past 5 seasons or something crazy like that, and he's a right guard that will come in here and provide a big impact immediately. He's someone that knows the system. He doesn't have to learn anything new. He just has to, gain chemistry with guys around him on the offensive line, and I think that will be a really good option for the Jets in free agency if they want to plug him in at the right guard spot. Say we re-sign LDT, we sign Tomlinson, we got really good depth at that guard spot right away. I would love the Jets to bring in Tomlinson. Another guy in the free agent market is Connor Williams from the Dallas Cowboys. He's a younger option, 24 years old. I feel like the Jets would be smart to at least see what his value is out there. I know he's an upcoming guy. I feel like he's going to get paid. My prediction for him is probably the Cincinnati Bengals, if I had to guess, because we know that the Bengals are going to be spending big on that offensive line in free agency. And there's a lot of other guys on the free agent market that we have to consider. Obviously, Brandon Sheriff is there, but I don't really see the Jets putting a lot of money into someone that's never finished an entire season in his life at the right guard spot. He's coming off being franchise tagged $18 million. I don't really see the Jets putting a lot of money into a guy that's just simply not healthy. So those are just some simple guys in the free agent market I'd like to see the Jets target. There's obviously a bunch of other guys that I would like to see the Jets target in free agency, but we're going to pivot right into the draft, because the draft is where the Jets can really bolster this offensive line. We all know that Joe Douglas is doing a great job with this offensive line so far, because if you remember his first year, Joe Douglas came into the Jets and absolutely revamped it. He brought in 5 new players on the offensive line when he had his first offseason with the New York Jets, and it was a beautiful thing to see. And then in year number 2, we all saw that last year, and now we're going to year number 3 of Joe Douglas being able to revamp this offensive line. We got to give Douglas credit for the free agent signing of George Fant when his first free agency was open. That was the first guy he brought in. George Fant was a phenomenal signing. We all know that. Connor McGovern's been really solid as well, especially last year. He's a very good center for us. Hopefully he's going to be able to recover in the offseason with his injury and be able to ready to go in training camp. But now the question is, what does Joe Douglas do in the draft this year? Because like I said, the past couple of seasons, he supplemented the offensive line through free agency with those guys. And in the draft, we obviously have Becton and AVT. Unfortunately, Cameron Clark is retired early because of that neck injury. But now, some guys in the draft that we have to keep an eye on is obviously the guys at the top at number 4, Ikem Ekwonu and Evan Neal. If the Jets want to go offensive line with that 4th pick, those 2 guys might be available. If, say, hypothetically, we do not sign Tomlinson, we do not sign a big name in free agency, this might be the route that the Jets go, because Ekwonu can provide that swing tackle role and also play at right guard. And he, in my eyes, is one of the best offensive line prospects in the entire draft. Now, Evan Neal is interesting because he's more like that prototypical tackle, and we have Fant, we have Becton, so I don't know if he really fits the mold of where the Jets are looking at. But guys outside of those picks, there's people like Tyler Linderbaum. If the Jets potentially want to trade back from 10 and target Tyler Linderbaum, I know that half Jets fans love him, half Jets fans think we do not need a center. Connor McGovern is serviceable, we don't need him. But if the Jets do trade back from 10 and Linderbaum is sitting there wherever we're at, and we can slide McGovern to right guard and Linderbaum is the future center of the team, I'd be on board. I'm more on the Linderbaum hype train than other people are, but that's just me. And then more in the second round, guys like Zion Johnson. Zion Johnson is a player that we have to look out for the Jets to target. He was on our Senior Bowl roster. He actually played center at the Senior Bowl for the Jets coaching staff, which is very interesting. He could, if he slides into the second round, I would love to bring him in. But yeah, man, obviously the offensive line is going to be a big time priority for the Jets this offseason. I'm super excited to see what they do in this offseason to revamp this O-line. Now let's kick it over to the defensive line for the New York Jets. Robert Saleh's squad. The team, this is the position group that is going to determine if this Jets defense becomes elite or not, or good or not. I mean, we're 32nd in the league last year, so I don't even expect it to be elite. I just wanted to see a serviceable defense, top 15 at least, and that is all about getting to the quarterback. So if you look at the roster where it stands right now, we have Carl Lawson at the edge, we have Quinnen Williams at 1 D tackle spot, John Franklin Myers at the other D tackle spot, Bryce Huff at the other edge, and then for depth purposes, we got Sheldon Rankins on the roster too, we got Jonathan Marshall, we got Zuniga, we got other guys as well. But then the pending free agents for the Jets is Foley Fatukasi, Nathan Shepard, and even Kyle Phillips is a restricted free agent. So the Jets got a lot of work to do on this defensive line. I think we have a great nucleus of guys like Quinnen Williams and John Franklin Myers locked up for long term. Well, Quinnen's not really going anywhere anytime soon. He doesn't have an extension, but he's still going into year number 4, I believe. And then we can either extend him or we can franchise tag him. So I don't think Quinnen's going anywhere anytime soon. And then Carl Lawson is going to year number 2 with the Jets in free agency. Hopefully he can stay healthy because we need need Carl Lawson on this team all season long if you want to get to the quarterback with ease. And the Bryce Huff, I feel like he had a really good season last year, but he did battle injuries and was not able to be on the field consistently. And we all know John Franklin Myers, he's locked up long term. I love what he did for the Jets last year. He was versatile, can line up on the edge, line up in the D tackle spot, but we need to make sure we bring in a big time edge presence alongside Carl Lawson so we can have John Franklin Myers lining up on the inside more often than not. And then Sheldon Rankins, he's a perfect rotation guy. And then watch out for Jonathan Marshall to get a really big role on this Jets team next year in terms of a rotation piece behind JFM, behind Quinn and all those guys. Because I feel like he showed some flashes when he got some time later on in the season. And I'm really excited to see what the Jets can do with developing Jonathan Marshall. Now we get into some targets for the New York Jets in free agency and the draft for the defensive line. Let's start off with the draft in this one. You know, obviously Kayvon Thibodeau and Aiden Hutchinson, those are the two top-tier edge rushers that we have to keep an eye on for that 4th overall pick. If one of those four, or if one of those two slides to us at 4, I'd love to bring him in. I feel like Thibodeau is way more likely to be there at 4 than Hutchinson, but if Thibodeau's there at 4, I really hope that the Jets bring him in for a lot of reasons. Thibodeau on that defensive line with JFM and Quinnen and Carl Lawson is the exact 4 guys I want on this defensive line all the time. So hopefully that can happen. But say that does not happen. Say the Jets do not go that route because simply Thibodeau does not make it to 4. Or say the Jets just don't even want to draft Thibodeau because of a lot of the concerns that's coming up about him for some reason. There's other guys in the draft like Jermaine Johnson that I'm really falling in love with. If Jermaine Johnson can be the pick at number 10, sign me up. Jermaine Johnson is a player that was so all over the place in Senior Bowl practices to the point where he didn't even have to play in the game because he impressed so much. So if Jermaine Johnson is the guy that the Jets want to bring in, and hey, maybe they even draft him at 4 because he's skyrocketing up draft boards and he kills it at the combine, and they do not want to risk him not being available at number 10 and they bring him in at number 4. You never know. I feel like Jermaine Johnson is going to be the sleeper of the draft in the edge class. And some other guys is Boye Mafe. I feel like he's going to skyrocket up draft boards as well when the combine comes around. We saw what he did at the Senior Bowl, and he could be potential second-round target for the Jets. Say we do not go edge with 4 or 10. Maybe the Jets want to go edge in the second round with a guy in Boye Mafe if he does not even slide into the first round in the back end of it because of his draft stock. I heard Todd McShay and Daniel Jeremiah saying they were so impressed with him, saying that he might be able to be a first-round pick eventually as the offseason keeps going on with the draft combine and the pro days and all that stuff. So Boye Mafe is a guy to keep an eye on. And then some guys on the interior defensive line in the draft to keep an eye on is Perrion Winfrey. We all know what he did in the Senior Bowl. I don't really see the Jets taking him simply because he's probably going to be a back end in the first round or early in the second round pick. I don't think the Jets would be smart to draft a guy that's a D tackle when we have Quinnen, we have John Franklin Myers on the roster. I'd rather the Jets go somewhere else with those picks, but he's definitely someone to bring up. And then I would like to see this guy potentially be a target for the Jets way later in the draft, maybe in the 5th round, and that's Haskell Garrett. He's another guy that we coached in the Senior Bowl from Ohio State. I love what he brings to the table. I actually had him in my mock offseason coming to the Jets in the 5th round. So keep an eye out for Garrett. I feel like the Jets are going to draft an interior defensive lineman later in the draft, similarly to the Jets' approach last year, getting Jonathan Marshall in the 6th round. And then some guys in free agency to look out for. We know that Dante Fowler hit the open market, got waived by the Atlanta Falcons. I feel like the Jets always are linked to Dante Fowler every single season. So if they want to bring him in, if we can get him for a cheap deal, I would be on board for it. It's not my biggest priority. It's not like I want Dante Fowler whatever it takes because I don't really want to bring in someone that's going to ask for a lot of money, to be honest. And then another guy that's very underrated in my eyes that I feel like the Jets could be bringing in, to be honest, is Solomon Thomas. He has ties with Robert Saleh. He was on that Super Bowl roster when the San Francisco 49ers won the NFC and they went to the Super Bowl. We all know the reason why the 49ers were in that Super Bowl that year was because of that defense. That defensive line with Nick Bosa and Thomas and all these guys were just dominating the line of scrimmage every single snap, and which is why they were getting to the quarterback, and that was Saleh as a defensive coordinator. So if Solomon Thomas, he's hitting the open market. He was on the Raiders last year. He was suffering some injuries, but he did have a solid season last year with the Las Vegas Raiders. If you look at his numbers, yes, if you look at Solomon Thomas's numbers, he had 4 sacks last year, 12 quarterback hits, 2 forced fumbles, 34 tackles, and he played all 17 games. Solomon Thomas, he's only 26 years old. I would definitely feel like this is a realistic free agent target for the New York Jets to add depth, add somebody to this defensive line that knows the system already with Robert Saleh, and I feel like he could be a big-time target for the Jets. Not really like the craziest, splashiest of the signings, but you know that the Jets are going to be supplementing this defensive line in free agency for depth purposes, and Solomon Thomas is definitely a player I want the Jets to look out for. And obviously, there's other free agents available, like big names like Calais Campbell. I don't think the Jets are going to bring him in at all, to be honest. JPP, Akeem Hicks, Jerry Hughes, Jadeveon Clowney is even available in the free agency. Chandler Jones. I mean, there's so many guys that I don't really expect the Jets to go big time hunting in the trenches on the defensive line money-wise. I'd rather the Jets go in and get their guy in the draft, because we're already paying Carl Lawson. We're already paying John Franklin Myers. We're going to have to pay Quentin Williams eventually. Let's get a guy in a rookie contract like a Kayvon Thibodeau, like a Jermaine Johnson, where we can develop over time in Robert Saleh. So that's my breakdown, guys, of the trenches of the offensive line and the defensive line. What's your thoughts about it? Do you feel like the offensive line and defensive line are trending in the right direction? Do you think that Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas are aligned and they understand what they need to do in order to win win games at the line of scrimmage? I feel like we have the foundation built on both sides of the ball, but there's a lot of work to be done. Of course, there's a lot of talent that needs to be supplemented, and of course, depth is a #1 priority, simply because we all know that we battle with injuries way too much. So guys, comment down below your thoughts of the video and your thoughts of the trenches on both sides of the ball. Love to hear what you guys have to say, and if you guys enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like and comment down below your thoughts, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Let's go Jets. Peace.